We're live. Hello, Architect Nation. Enoch Sears here. And in this video, we're going to be going over 5 things you can do when clients ask you to discount your fees. Let's face it, whether you do residential architecture or whether you do institutional architecture, I've never been in an industry as an architect where at one time or another, the client didn't ask us to reduce our fees. Now, this is a common problem that I see that especially happens to boutique architecture firm owners, that they put their fee out there and clients either don't see the value in their fee or for whatever reason, they want them to reduce and charge less than they're currently charging. Now, there's a systemic problem here at the base of this, and that is that many small architecture firms are severely undercapitalized. Severely undercapitalized. What that means is, well, they just don't have enough money. Most architecture firm owners run their business based upon checkbook accounting, meaning that if they're paying themselves, if they're paying their staff, if they're maybe bringing home just a little bit beyond that, then all is good. But the problem is that this is disaster for a business. This is the kind of thing that can ultimately sink an architecture firm because you don't have reserves, you don't have savings, you don't have the ability to reinvest back into the business. And this is a huge problem for any firm owner that actually wants to create a profitable and sustainable, more importantly, sustainable practice that actually empowers them to do the kind of work that they want to do. So the question is here, when a client comes to you and says, wow, that was a lot more than we thought, or why are these other firms over here so much less expensive than you? Or wow, your fee was much higher than everyone else's. When someone's asking you for a discount, how do you handle this? So we're going to go over 5 specific strategies about what to do when clients ask for a discount. So ultimately, you can be better capitalized as a firm. So you can actually take home an abundant income. You can take home massive savings. You can reinvest in your business, and you can really focus on doing architecture that empowers you. So strategy number one is just say no. Now, anyone that grew up in the 80s remembers this little tagline from Nancy Reagan. It was like an anti-drug campaign, just say no, right? So the idea here is that, look, our fees are our fees, and that's all there is to it. Along with this, you can also employ a strategy of price transparency if it suits your fancy, meaning that, look, when we believe in being in having integrity around our fees, around what we do, and what we're doing is we have a standard profit margin that we need to reinvest in our business. We deliver a certain level of service that not all firms do, and so take it or leave it, this is our fee. So strategy number one is to just say no, this is our fee, and we're not going to reduce it. Strategy number 2 is, instead of reducing your fee, to actually look at how you can cut back scope. So when that client asks you, hey, look, that's a lot of money. Is there any way you can sharpen the pencil on that? Is there any way that you can reduce your fees as an architecture firm? You can say, well, let's talk about that. What specifically here in our proposal that we're proposing to do for you don't you really care about? What are you willing to give up? And let them put the ball back in their court, see what they're willing to give up. And then have that conversation. If they say something drastic like, well, we really want to totally pick out the contractor. Well, that may be fine with you as a professional. It may not be fine with you as a professional. In that case, you need to draw the line and say, look, I know where this goes. Look, under that situation, this is an integral part of our proposal, and we just can't budge on that. But maybe there's some other things that we can give up here to reduce the fee. Okay. Now, that's not actually my favorite strategy, because we don't ever want to get into a situation where we're reducing the fee at all. Excuse me, we're not going to reduce the fee with that strategy, because that's strategy number 2, which is reducing the scope. So the nice thing about that is that you keep the same fee. Well, you're going to reduce the fee just a tad bit, right? Because you're reducing scope, and then that allows them to get a better fee for the project. All right. So strategy number 3 would be to add some sort of bonus. Now, when I talk about a bonus, this means something extra that you're giving them. Look, we can't come down on our fee, but what we can do is we can add this back in. So perhaps you have something in your firm that you can offer that's highly leveraged, meaning that it doesn't take a lot of staff time to actually do. Now, you're going to know best what this is. It could be something like, perhaps you do all your models in 3D, and for you to give them unlimited 3D designs, it's just like pressing a button. So you could say, look, for your project, normally this is going to cost extra, but what we can do is we can throw this in if you're interested, help you visualize your design so you're not making mistakes out there and end up with something that you weren't hoping to get and being incredibly disappointed with your project, right? So that's strategy number 3, is to add some sort of extra item that doesn't cost you a lot of money. Throw that into the mix, right? Because ultimately this is a negotiation. So number 1 is just say no. Number 2 is to reduce the scope and reduce the fees. Number 3 is to add a bonus. Number 4 is to, again, this is sort of like reducing scope, but you can almost, this is the flip side of that, which is you could actually upgrade their service. So you could say, look, we're not going to reduce our fee, but what we can do is we can throw in, and it's not almost like a bonus, but we're going to upgrade you to our executive service package or something. Now, most firms might have difficulty doing this because you may just have a standard process or package that you offer every single client. And that's why I oftentimes, when I counsel and consult with architecture firms, we actually have them develop different pricing levels, different packages, so they have something to work with in these kind of negotiations. So that's number 4 here. Make sure I'm staying on track. Number 4 is to add an upgrade to some additional service. So maybe you'll do some permit expediting that wasn't going to happen before. You know, going back to the idea of reduced scope, something that you may consider is saying, hey, look, normally we bundle the consultant's fees into our fees because these are the professionals we like to work with, but maybe there's some consultants that you want to pay for yourself or some other services that you want to do, right? So there we're at number 4. So number 1 is just say no. Number 2 is to reduce the scope so that you can bring the fee down a bit. Number 3 is to actually add some sort of bonus that's highly leveraged for you that doesn't cost you more to deliver. Number 4 is to give them some sort of upgrade, some sort of added value to the project. Number 5 is to add a guarantee or a penalty. Because when we look at a transaction, there's value being delivered on your side, and then what the client is ultimately giving to you is basically going to be money and perhaps some satisfaction, the joy of having that relationship, and maybe a portfolio, a new portfolio, new portfolio piece for your portfolio or something like that, right? And so when we look at this idea of there being more at stake here than just the money, we can throw in, as an architecture firm, you could throw in a guarantee or a penalty. And I was recently having a chat with Larry Scarpa, founder of Brooks & Scarpa, co-founder, and he was saying this is something they did in the early days of their firm to be able to really catapult them and get more projects and move into a new project area, is that he saw a gap in the market. He realized that developers wanted projects and they were very severely constrained by time. And so he said, look, what we'll do is we're going to guarantee to meet your deadline, or we're going to pay penalties. Now, look, most architects wouldn't do this, and because that's a bit of risk to take. But here's the thing. As time goes on, the firms and the companies who are going to win are the firms and companies that are able to take the most risk off of the client and be able to give them the greatest amount of value. So if it's not you, then it's someone else, right? And so if you can't agree to a deadline, if you can't commit to something like that, make a bold move like that, then perhaps take a look at your internal processes and try to think, okay, how could we actually do this? Right? So that's number 5. Add some sort of guarantee, or add some sort and a penalty if you don't meet that guarantee. So there's our 5 things, right? So number 1 is just say no. Number 2 is reducing our scope. Number 3 is adding a bonus. Number 4 is offering an upgrade. Number 5 is adding a guarantee or a penalty. And I'm going to throw in here 2 more bonuses just for good measure. Number 6 and number 7. Number 6, you could offer them a discount. Now, this isn't my favorite strategy because I never advise anyone to discount their fees. But if you feel like your back's up against the wall, you want the project, or perhaps you just want to take on the project strategically because you think it's going to be a great boost for your portfolio, you can offer a discount if they guarantee that they'll give you a referral, 2 referrals, 3 referrals. You can say, look, we are a referral-based business. Normally, it costs us a certain amount of money to actually acquire a client. And so I don't know what your sphere of influence is, but if you're the kind of person that could bring us 3 referrals or 1 additional project during the course of us working together, then what we can do is we can take that off of the overall fee. We can give you a discount of X% or something like that, right? And that's kind of a cool way to structure it, because ultimately what that does is that makes sure that they actually deliver the goods. Because what you don't want to do is say, hey, here's my referral price. I'm going to knock off X% off my fees if you promise to bring me some referrals, and then by the end of the project, you forget about it. They never bring you the referrals and it never turns into anything, right? So that's our strategy number 6, is to ask for referrals. And strategy number 7, can you believe we're up to strategy number 7? I have more, but I'm just going to go over 7 right now. So strategy number 7 is to offer some sort of payment plans that work better with their cash flow and their finances. So you might say, look, instead of this lump fee up front, we're going to stagger out the work. We're going to be able to massage it to work with your particular cash flow scenario, with a great guarantee and a great contract, of course, so that you as the architecture firm owner aren't taking on too much risk. Let's take the power back to architects. Let's give the power back to the shape makers of our societies. And one of the ways that you're going to be able to do this is by having a well-capitalized business, by being able to charge very, very healthy fees for the value that you deliver, and being able to reinvest that back into the business and also provide for yourself and your family. I mean, let's face it. I was talking with an architect just last year, and he was saying, he wasn't making the income that he wanted to, but hey, look, he's not suffering. He was able to be doing some hobbies and stuff like that. But I said, look, is there anyone in your family that you really care about that has some potential of having some sort of health problem? He said, as a matter of fact, yes, my daughter. Something happened to my daughter, and she has had health problems. If something happened to her, I said, would you be able to step in, let's say, and cover $1 million worth of medical bills? And he said, no, I wouldn't. And so these are the things that we never think about budget. And we never think about the contingencies of actually being able to provide not only for ourselves, for our staff, but also our family. So let me know. I'd love to know, what strategies do you use to counteract discounting when clients come along and ask you to discount your fees? How do you handle that? Leave your comments right here in the chat. I look forward to hearing from you. And I see Neela is on the line and Nidal had joined us. So welcome, and thank you for joining us. Now, other than that, if you'd like to go figure out how to, how I work, maybe you want to work with me, maybe you realize that, hey, I'd like to get some help charging higher fees. I'd like to get some help being better capitalized. I'd invite you to go check out my free online training over at dreampracticewebinar.com. All right. As always, this is Enoch Sears signing off, saying Carpe Diem. Bye for now.